The illusion of control. Traders love to believe they are in control. They obsess over indicators, news, and patterns, hoping that enough knowledge will grant them certainty. But the market is not something you control. It is something you survive. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote that people judge more by what they see than what actually is. In trading, that illusion is everywhere. A glowing chart can hide a dangerous setup. A clean breakout can be a trap. A quiet market can be the calm before the collapse. You think you're managing the trade, but the trade is managing you. Most traders don't lose because they lack skill. They lose because they chase control where none exists. They want to predict what cannot be predicted. They want comfort in a system that punishes comfort. So they overanalyze, hesitate, and act based on perception, not preparation. The charts don't care about your opinion. The candles don't care about your emotions. The only thing you can truly control is yourself. Control is internal. You decide when to enter. You decide when to exit. But once you're in the market, the rest is noise. The market doesn't respond to your logic. It responds to volume, liquidity, and narrative. You are just a participant. Machiavelli said that a prince should not rely on fortune alone, but must learn how to manage appearances. Traders who try to control price get crushed. But traders who manage their perception, who stay calm, disciplined, and detached, gain the only power that matters: mental stability. You don't need to know what will happen next. You need to know how you'll respond to it. This is where most traders fail. They believe that more analysis equals more certainty. But certainty is an illusion. The more you crave it, the more desperate your decisions become. You hesitate when you should act. You act when you should wait. You second-guess your plan because reality didn't match your fantasy. Machiavelli warned against building castles in the air. He said that rulers who rely too heavily on hope are quickly destroyed. In trading, hope is the most dangerous drug. It tells you to hold losers, to double down on bad trades, to ignore your stop. Hope is not a strategy, neither is fear. The market punishes those who seek emotional comfort. It rewards those who execute without hesitation. That's the irony. The less you need to feel in control, the more in control you actually are. You don't need to master the market. You need to master your reaction to it. That is real power. That is the power Machiavelli respected. Not the illusion of dominance, but the discipline of restraint. In every chart, there is chaos. But in your mind, there can be order. And in that order, you find something rare: consistency. Mastering appearances. Machiavelli believed that rulers don't need to be virtuous, they just need to appear virtuous. In his world, appearance was more valuable than truth. In trading, it's the same. The market doesn't reward what's real. It rewards what's perceived to be real. A trader who appears calm creates an edge, not just in the eyes of others, but in their own psychology. When you look in control, you feel in control. This isn't about faking confidence. It's about training yourself to project clarity even when uncertainty dominates. Most traders lose because they reflect the chaos of the market. They mirror the noise. Volatility goes up, they panic. Price reverses, they hesitate. They are emotionally tied to every tick, every candle, every rumor. That's not trading. That's reacting. But the elite trader does the opposite. He controls his breathing. He sticks to his rules. He does not react, he responds. He knows that his edge is not in the chart, but in his ability to stay composed when others collapse. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must appear compassionate, faithful, humane, and honest, even if he is none of those things. Why? Because people follow perception, not reality. A trader must appear centered, even when uncertainty rages inside. He must show consistency, even when every signal contradicts itself. This is not about lying to others. It's about managing the battlefield of your own mind. If you appear scattered, anxious, and impulsive, your subconscious will follow. You will doubt yourself. You will exit too early. You will break rules you swore to follow. But if you appear composed externally and internally, your behavior starts to align. The power of appearance is psychological. It forces discipline. It demands posture. It puts pressure on your weakest habits. And that pressure, if you can hold it, makes you sharper than most. Market success isn't about finding the perfect entry. It's about how you behave once you're inside a position. Do you shift your stop based on fear? Do you take profit too early because of greed? Do you freeze when price goes against you? These are appearance problems, because what you allow to show shows what you allow to exist. Professionalism is not a feeling, it's a habit. A trader who appears rational builds a routine around that image. They review their trades. They follow process. They don't seek glory. They seek repetition. They seek mastery. That's what Machiavelli respected. Not heroes, not legends, but operators. Cold, methodical operators who understood power comes from self-command. You will not be remembered for your biggest win. You will be remembered for how often you stayed sane when everything screamed at you to lose your mind. So you build that image. You protect that standard. You don't get loud when you win. You don't collapse when you lose. You stand still while everyone else shakes. That is power. That is presence. That is what makes you untouchable. Feared or loved. Every trader wants to win. But most traders want to win comfortably. They want the market to behave. They want their setups to work right away. They want smooth charts, perfect entries, and minimal pain. In other words, they want to be loved by the market. But the market doesn't love you. It doesn't care about your hopes, your experience, or your analysis. It's ruthless, chaotic, and designed to expose your weakest habit. And this is where most fail, because they approach the market with emotions that have no place in a battlefield. Machiavelli said, "It is much safer to be feared than loved." He wasn't talking about cruelty. He was talking about control. A ruler who is feared maintains order. A ruler who tries to be loved is eventually betrayed. The same is true for a trader's mind. When your system fears your discipline, you survive. But when it loves your comfort, you lose. Think about stop-loss placement. Traders know they need to set stops, but they move them. Why? Because they want to give the market a little more room. That's not a strategy. That's fear of discomfort. That's weakness disguised as logic. A strong trader places a stop and keeps it there. Not because he's cold, but because he respects structure. He fears losing control more than losing a trade. His strategy doesn't need to love him. It needs to fear breaking down. That's how he protects his capital. That's how he survives. There's a psychological switch that separates professionals from amateurs. Professionals train their minds to expect pain and remain unaffected. Amateurs avoid pain and become slaves to it. The moment you try to avoid discomfort, you hand your edge to the market. You hesitate. You exit early. You overtrade. You self-sabotage. Your edge is not your system. Your edge is your ability to enforce your system when it's hardest to do so. Just like Machiavelli's prince, a trader must be willing to be misunderstood. You must accept that your discipline will look harsh even to yourself. There will be times when following your rules feels wrong. Times when you exit a trade that later takes off. Times when you stay out of a setup that looks too good to ignore. That's where discipline shines. That's when fear works in your favor. The market does not reward the polite. It rewards the prepared. It respects the brutal honesty of a trader who doesn't flinch. When the price turns against him, he doesn't beg for mercy. He accepts the loss, logs the trade, and waits for the next opportunity. There is no panic, no pleading, just process. Machiavelli warned that rulers who rely on affection or popularity become weak. In trading, popularity means trying to match what others are doing, copying trades, listening to noise, and avoiding isolation. But a strong trader lives in solitude. He operates based on internal law, not external approval. And that solitude is not a curse, it's a sign of strength. You are not here to impress. You are not here to feel good. You are here to survive, and eventually, to dominate. But domination begins with discipline. And discipline begins when you stop needing comfort from a system that was never designed to comfort you. This is the hard truth. Most traders lose because they want the market to be their friend. But the market is not your friend. It's your opponent. It's the battlefield. And it respects the ones who respect themselves. So you decide. Do you want the market to love you and take everything you have? Or do you want it to fear you because you never hesitate, never beg, and never break? The market only respects conviction. And conviction is born from the kind of discipline that looks brutal from the outside but feels like freedom on the inside. Becoming an authority over yourself. Machiavelli believed that true power doesn't come from kindness or good intentions. It comes from authority earned, enforced, and maintained. In trading, you don't rule the market. You never will. The only territory you can truly govern is your own mind. That is your kingdom. And most traders have no idea who's ruling it. Some days it's fear, other days it's greed, sometimes it's ego, sometimes doubt, but rarely is it discipline, rarely is it clarity, and that's the problem. You cannot build a trading career on random emotions. You need internal authority, consistent, calm, and absolute. That doesn't mean becoming a robot. It means becoming a commander. Every trade, every setup, every moment of hesitation, those are battles. If you aren't in charge, something else will be. Your past, your pain, your patterns. And they don't care about your goals. They only care about keeping you in your comfort zone. Authority starts with rules, but not just rules written in a notebook, rules you actually enforce. You don't let yourself trade out of boredom. You don't move stops. You don't add to losing positions. These aren't suggestions. These are laws. And in your kingdom, laws are not optional. Most traders think freedom means doing whatever you want. That's not freedom. That's chaos. Real freedom is knowing you can do the right thing, even when you don't feel like it. Real power is not reacting. It's responding with precision. Machiavelli warned that rulers who don't punish betrayal lose their grip. The same is true in trading. Every time you break your rules, you teach your mind that your word means nothing. And if your own mind doesn't trust you, how can you expect to act with confidence? There's no way around this. You must earn your own respect. How? Through proof, through repetition, through hard days where you wanted to chase and didn't, where you wanted to panic but waited, where you wanted to close early but held. Those moments are your foundation. That's how internal authority is built, not in comfort, but in pressure. Over time, that authority becomes identity. You stop needing outside validation. You stop asking, is this a good trade? And start saying, this is my setup, and I will execute it. You stop wondering if today's win means anything, because you already know what matters. Following the process, managing risk, and staying consistent. And eventually, you start moving through the market differently. Quieter, more focused. You don't over-explain your trades. You don't chase noise. You don't ask for permission. Because now, you're not just reacting to charts. You're running your system like a leader runs a state. That's what Machiavelli understood. Power isn't about appearances, it's about control. Not over others, over yourself. The trader who masters himself can survive any market condition. He doesn't fear volatility. He doesn't hope for perfection. He adapts. He endures. He acts with strength because his foundation isn't luck or momentum, it's self-respect. That's what authority gives you. Not arrogance, not dominance, just clarity. A quiet, unshakable clarity that keeps you calm when the world screams chaos. You may not win every trade, you may not be the smartest in the room, but if you can trust yourself when it matters most, you already have what most traders never will. You have control. And in a game designed to break you, that makes you powerful. Why outcome thinking destroys traders? Machiavelli is famous for saying, "The ends justify the means." But most people misunderstand what he meant. He wasn't saying that results matter more than principles. He was saying that results only matter if they are sustained, and that requires strategy, not impulse. In trading, this confusion is everywhere. Most traders focus obsessively on outcomes. Did the trade win? Did I make money today? Did I beat the market this week? They track results like a scoreboard, assuming the numbers define the process. But here's the truth. When you focus on the outcome, you start chasing it. And once you start chasing, you stop executing. You rush entries. You force trades. You exit too early. You ignore your system because you want the result now. That's not trading. That's gambling in disguise. The outcome doesn't tell you if you traded well. A good trade can lose money. A bad trade can make money. The result is not the measure. The process is. But outcome-driven thinking is addictive. It feels good to win. It feels validating. So you build your identity around it. You start saying things like, "I'm on a hot streak," or "I can't afford another loss." That's when the spiral begins. Because now you're not trading your system, you're trading your feelings. You stop seeing setups for what they are and start seeing them for what you want them to be. You enter too early because you're afraid to miss. You exit too late because you want to prove you were right. You move stops because you just need this one to work. That mindset will destroy you. Machiavelli warned rulers about this. He said that those who chase popularity or comfort often lose their grip on reality. They start making decisions based on short-term approval instead of long-term survival. In trading, that means sacrificing discipline for dopamine, and once that habit takes root, it's hard to reverse. You begin to confuse luck with skill. You win a few trades and think you're evolving, but you're not. You're just riding a wave you didn't create. And when it crashes, you have no foundation because you never built one. Outcome obsession also creates fear, not just fear of loss, but fear of failure as identity. You start tying your self-worth to your performance. A red day isn't just a number, it's a personal failure. A drawdown isn't just market noise, it's proof that you're not good enough. That's toxic, and it's false. A strong trader doesn't judge themselves by wins or losses. They judge themselves by how well they followed their rules, how consistently they executed, and how calmly they handled pressure. They know one trade means nothing. One day means nothing. One outcome means nothing. What matters is repetition, process, structure, control. Machiavelli's prince didn't rule with emotion. He ruled with awareness. He knew that survival depended on how he made decisions, not just what came out of them. He built systems that lasted. That's what a trader must do. You don't need more wins. You need more discipline. You don't need better outcomes. You need better habits. Because over time, good habits create good results. But chasing results only creates chaos. There will always be trades that go your way. And trades that don't. That's not the game. The game is consistency under pressure. Calm under chaos. Execution without neediness. The market rewards those who think like strategists, not gamblers. So let go of the scoreboard. Let go of the need to prove something. Let go of the outcome. Focus on the system. Focus on your execution. Because in the end, that's what builds long-term results. And that's what Machiavelli meant all along. Strategic exits and ruthless discipline. Every trade ends. The question is how. Do you exit with control or with emotion? Do you execute a plan or react to a feeling? Most traders exit based on pressure, not strategy. They don't make decisions, they escape them. Machiavelli once wrote that a ruler must learn how not to be good when necessary. This wasn't about cruelty, it was about realism. A leader must sometimes act against his nature to preserve what matters. In trading, that means acting against your emotional instincts in order to preserve your system. The most dangerous moment in any trade is not the entry, it's the exit, because that's where the brain starts fighting reality. Maybe the trade's in profit, and greed whispers that you can squeeze more. Or maybe it's in loss, and hope tells you to hold just a little longer. Either way, you're being pulled by feeling, not logic. But exits are where careers are made or broken. A professional trader doesn't exit when it feels right. He exits when the system says it's time. He doesn't chase a bigger win. He doesn't avoid a smaller loss. He acts, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. That's what ruthless discipline looks like. Most traders don't lack knowledge. They lack the ability to enforce what they already know. They've read the books, watched the videos, journaled the trades. But when pressure rises, they break their own rules. Not because they're undisciplined people, but because they haven't practiced restraint under fire. Ruthless discipline is not a talent. It's a skill. You train it by taking clean losses without flinching, by exiting at your target even when the chart looks like it has more to give, by walking away when your plan says you're done for the day, even if you're tempted to keep going. Every time you exit with precision, you reinforce your authority over yourself. You prove that you can act on plan instead of emotion, and that builds real confidence. Not the kind that comes from a winning streak, the kind that survives a losing one. Machiavelli believed that fortune favors those who are prepared to adapt and strike when needed, not those who wait, hesitate, or hope. The same is true in the markets. Your job is not to be perfect. It's to be consistent. Your edge is not prediction, it's execution. That includes the exit. Traders often obsess over where to enter, but neglect where to exit. They set profit targets with their eyes, not with logic. They hold trades because they feel good. They close trades because they feel scared. But feelings don't pay. Process does. A strong exit is not emotional. It is mechanical. It is planned before the trade begins. It is respected no matter what the market does afterward. It is detached from what could have been and focused only on what must be done. Because in trading, regret is always waiting. The market always moves further or reverses the moment you exit. That's the trap. You think you're missing something, but you're not. You're just forgetting why you took the trade in the first place. Discipline means remembering the reason when your emotions try to rewrite it. So you exit clean. You log the trade. You move on. You don't chase. You don't justify. You don't fantasize about what if. That's the mindset that survives. Machiavelli said that the prince must be prepared to act with calculated ruthlessness. Not out of impulse, but out of necessity. As a trader, your exits must be the same. Calculated. Cold. Controlled. Because the market doesn't reward those who feel the most. It rewards those who think clearly, act decisively, and leave the table with discipline intact. Calm on the outside, killer within. The market doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to how you act. Most traders confuse calmness with weakness. They think being soft-spoken means being soft. They assume discipline looks peaceful. But real discipline is violent under the surface. It's a war you've already won before the trade begins. Machiavelli believed that a ruler should appear merciful, faithful, and kind. But underneath, He must be ready to act with force when needed. The image is calm. The intent is lethal. That's the exact mindset of a professional trader. When you look at elite traders, they don't talk much. They don't flex. They don't react. They sit quietly, follow rules, and execute with precision. But make no mistake, they are not passive. Their minds are aggressive. Their systems are sharp. Their execution is exact. They've trained themselves to be calm when others panic, and to strike when others hesitate. That's not personality. That's power. The problem is that most traders try to feel ready before they act. They wait for confidence. They wait for the perfect signal. They wait for emotion to line up with execution. But by the time that happens, the trade is already gone. Real traders don't wait to feel right. They act when the system says act. Their feelings follow their actions, not the other way around. This is what separates the calm and calculated from the reactive and emotional. The calm trader doesn't ignore fear. He contains it. He expects it. He plans for it. And when it shows up, he moves anyway. That's what Machiavelli meant when he wrote that a ruler must learn how not to be good. It doesn't mean being cruel. It means being effective, even when it feels harsh. Sometimes the best trade is doing nothing. Sometimes it's walking away. Sometimes it's cutting a loss that hurts your pride. These aren't easy decisions. They're not emotionally satisfying. But they are necessary, and necessity, not comfort, is what makes a trader survive. The truth is, the market respects force, not the kind you show with your voice or your charts, but the kind you show in your execution, when you enter without flinching, when you follow your plan, even if it stings, when you sit through discomfort and remain still. That's force. It doesn't have to look intense. It doesn't have to sound loud. It just has to be there, underneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to act. The fox and the lion was Machiavelli's ideal leader, cunning enough to see the trap, strong enough to crush the threat. The fox watches, the lion strikes. A trader must be both, patient with preparation, precise with execution. You don't need to look aggressive to be dangerous. You don't need to yell to dominate. Quiet confidence is the most terrifying kind, because it means you've seen chaos before, and you're not impressed. Your calmness is not a personality trait. It's a weapon. And when the market gets loud, when the price starts moving fast, when other traders lose control, that's when you become deadly. Because you are not reacting, you are calculating. You are not emotional, you are effective. And when the time comes, you don't hesitate, you strike. Hidden strategy, visible simplicity. A strong trader looks simple on the outside. No clutter, no noise, just clean charts, clear plans, quiet execution. But underneath that simplicity, there's complexity. Layers of thought, preparation, experience, and control. That's what makes them dangerous. Machiavelli believed that the most effective rulers hide their strategy. He wrote that appearances should reflect stability, while real power operates from behind the curtain. In trading, this principle is gold. The average trader fills their screen with indicators. They talk about every trade. They react to every candle. They look busy, but nothing is focused. Their strategy is exposed, and usually not even real. The professional is the opposite. You look at their screen, and it's clean, maybe a moving average, maybe support and resistance. Nothing flashy, but every mark means something. Every decision is rooted in a framework. Every move is intentional. This is not minimalism for aesthetic. It's minimalism for efficiency. You don't need the market to see your strength. You need to feel it internally. You don't prove yourself by over-explaining your trades. You prove yourself by surviving over time. The strongest strategies don't look complicated. They look calm. They work quietly in the background. They don't need confirmation from others. They don't need praise. They just work. That's power. Power isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's not emotional. It's quiet. It's built on rules that don't change under pressure. It's based on principles that stay the same, whether you're up or down. You win because you don't chase. You lose without collapsing. You repeat what works until it becomes who you are. Machiavelli warned against leaders who speak more than they act. He knew that the real threat was not the one yelling at the gates, but the one already inside the walls. That's what your mindset must become. Quiet, strategic, unshakable. Let others play the game emotionally. Let them show their positions. Let them panic and overtrade and break their own rules. You don't need to follow. You move when it's time. You stay still when it's not. You don't explain your edge. You protect it. Because the more visible your strategy becomes, the easier it is to break. Simplicity protects it. Silence protects it. Repetition protects it. Most people think power is in control of others, but in trading, power is self-control. It's knowing exactly what your edge is and never letting the market pull you away from it. It's trusting the plan, even after 3 losses. It's passing on a setup that looks tempting but doesn't meet your criteria. It's walking away on a day when the chart is moving, but your mind isn't clear. These are the moves that matter. They don't look impressive. They don't get applause. But they build consistency. They build identity. They build the kind of internal structure that can't be shaken by randomness or noise. And when other traders burn out from chasing volatility, from reacting emotionally, from running loud and empty systems, you're still standing, still simple, still dangerous. Because your edge was never what others could see. It was what you trained yourself to become. Markets are political. Machiavelli didn't write about charts. He wrote about power. But if you read The Prince closely, it sounds like a manual for surviving the market. Because the market, like politics, is a world of perception, timing, deception, and control. He wrote, "A prudent man should always follow the paths beaten by great men and imitate those who have been supreme." In trading, this means study the ones who have lasted, not the loudest, not the flashiest, the most consistent, the ones who've stayed through cycles, chaos, crashes. They didn't survive by being reactive. They survived by understanding the political nature of the market. Every move you make is being watched by your own emotions, by other participants, by the invisible hand of the market structure. Just like a ruler, you are navigating through alliances, traps, fake support, and false breakouts. Machiavelli warned, "A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise." This wasn't cynicism, it was realism. In trading, the market breaks its promises daily. Perfect setups fail. Bullish news gets sold. Patterns don't work. If you take everything at face value, you will get played. A smart trader assumes the chart lies. Not always, but often enough to require caution. You respect the signal, but you verify with structure, volume, and price behavior. The market rewards those who think like political strategists. You must know when to hold your position, when to retreat, and when to fake weakness to trap others. Take false breakouts. They're not accidents. They are intentional signals to lure in undisciplined traders. Price moves just enough to trigger your entry, then reverses and wipes you out. This is not a flaw in the system. It's part of the system. It's psychological warfare. Just like a prince uses narrative to control the masses, the market uses narrative to manipulate participants. You are not just trading price, you are trading perception. Machiavelli said, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims." This is every FOMO candle you've ever chased. Every social media trader who flashes wins with no losses. Every news spike that felt too obvious to miss. You think you're seeing opportunity, but you're being manipulated by narrative. That's why your survival depends on stepping back from noise. Like a good ruler, you must observe patterns over time. You must understand your environment, which hours matter, which setups actually perform, which emotional impulses cost you the most. Trading is not about being brave. It's about being precise and politically aware. Machiavelli respected leaders who were neither reckless nor timid. He wrote, "It is better to act and regret than not to act and regret." In trading, this applies only when action is backed by a system. Boldness without structure is suicide, but waiting forever is also a trap. There are moments when the market opens a door, but it won't stay open for long. You must know when to move, and you must act with authority. That's politics. That's trading. You are not just a trader. You are a participant in a political system called the market. And like every system of power, it rewards those who understand the game behind the game. The trader state, building mental sovereignty. Machiavelli wrote that the strongest princes build their own states. They don't borrow armies. They don't rely on favors. They build systems that can stand without outside help. Because in politics, as in trading, true power begins with sovereignty. You are not a guest in the market. You are not a beggar asking for winning trades. You are a builder. And what you build is not just a strategy, it's a mental state. A system of thought, behavior, and discipline that does not break under pressure. That is your trader state. Most traders operate like unstable kingdoms. One red day, and their system collapses. One win, and their ego takes the throne. One bad week, and they burn everything down. This is not a strategy. It's a civil war inside the mind. Your goal is different. You must build a state of mind that outlasts results, that outlasts drawdowns, that outlasts the noise, the temptation, the doubt. You don't react to the market. You govern your own internal territory calmly, clearly, and with authority. What does this state need? First, laws. Your rules must be clear, written, and enforced. No revenge trades, no over-leveraging, no trading out of boredom. These are not suggestions. They are laws. Break them once, and the structure weakens. Break them often, and the state collapses. Second, allies. In Machiavelli's world, a prince needs alliances to survive. In yours, your allies are habits, clarity, patience, preparation, journaling, routine. They don't look glamorous, but they hold the entire system together. Ignore them, and you become vulnerable. Third, punishment, not harshness, accountability. When you break a rule, you correct it. Immediately. You don't excuse it. You don't justify it. You log it, face it, and prevent it. Because a state that ignores its own corruption eventually falls from within. Fourth, vision. You are not here for one good trade. You are here to last. You are here to compound discipline, not just capital. Your vision is not tomorrow's result. It's the kind of trader you are becoming over years, and that vision keeps your state intact when the present feels chaotic. Machiavelli wrote, "A man who becomes a prince through his own ability holds his power with difficulty, but keeps it with strength." That is you. You didn't inherit consistency. You built it. And that makes you dangerous. Because nothing was given. Everything was earned. That mindset changes how you move. You no longer need the market to behave. You know how to behave regardless. You no longer fear a losing streak. You trust your system through it. You no longer chase trades out of desperation. You wait with calm authority, like a ruler who knows the terrain. And when other traders panic, you stay still. When others get greedy, you stay rational. When others follow noise, you follow process. Because your state is sovereign. It doesn't rise or fall with every candle. It doesn't shake under pressure. It doesn't beg for validation. It stands on principles that don't change. You are not here to survive one trade. You are here to survive thousands. And that requires something more than a setup. It requires internal power, strategic patience, relentless discipline, cold precision. That's what makes a trader unstoppable. Not size, not speed, not signals. Structure. Machiavelli respected rulers who ruled with systems, not emotions, who understood timing, not impulse, who operated with quiet strength, not loud desperation. If you want to last, you must become that ruler, not in theory and practice, every day, every session, every trade. So build your trader state, protect it, strengthen it, let it become your identity. Because when the world is in chaos, the one who leads himself wins. And when the market respects nothing else, it always respects power. If this hits something real in you, don't just click away. Leave a comment. Tell me how FOMO shows up in your trading. Then hit subscribe if you're done gambling and ready to trade with intention. This channel's not here to hype you up. It's here to make you sharper. Let's build this together.